Rosie's Baby by Clarence Chance. No wind stirred the leaves of the trees he passed, and Dennis thought that it was as if the leaves knew. They hung lifelessly in the still air. Rain had fallen earlier, and he was navigating around pools of water and picking his way through muck and mud, searching for the harder portions of the dirt road. He held the baby tenderly over his shoulder, not too tightly, not too lightly. The whole thing seemed like a dream, but now Dennis bit his lower lip as if to convince himself once and for all that it was no dream, that Rosie was dead. Tears were coming, and he was trying to hold them back, to be brave and strong for the little one. 16-year-old Dennis Donaldson had emerged from a taxi in the square. He was on his way from the hospital to Rosie's mother's house. He passed Mr. Churchill's goat pen, but the big black he-goat he called Africa held no fascination for him today. He looked at it and didn't see it. His feet, heavy with mud and weakened by fear, were coming to the gate now. Dennis could see Miss Madge sitting on her veranda. There was someone else there, a woman, resembling Miss Enid from Pumphole. The boy turned mechanically through the gate and climbed the steps. "Afternoon, Miss Marge." No answer. "I bring home the baby." "Rosie's son, ma'am." Miss Marge rose. "You have the audacity to come here and talk about Rosie's son? Where is Rosie? Where is Rosie?" Miss Marge turned to Miss Enid. "They murder my one child, Miss Enid, between this boy and the doctor them. Them talking about high blood pressure. Rosie never have any high blood pressure. I going to show them what pressure is. You hear?" She paused, looked at the baby, and then went on. "If you know what I know, boy, you take that baby and carry it to your mother. I warned Rosie about you people. I told her not to entangle up with people like you. Something like this was bound to happen. Bound to happen." He was making his way up to his house. His jeans were wet up to his knee from the wet bushes. He was passing his mother's pig pen now, thinking that 5 days ago Rosie was a bubbly 15-year-old looking forward to her baby's birth. And today, well, today. Tears were coming again. He had to stop them. "Be strong, be strong." He said that now aloud, as if to cement it into his brain, as if saying it would drive away the fear. He came into the yard through the back. His mother was putting clothes onto the line. She stopped when she saw him. "Where you going with that baby, Dennis?" "The hospital released him, ma'am, and it's my seed, so I went for him." "You working anywhere? How you going to mind, baby boy? I would expect one of your sister to carry a baby up in here. Not you, Dennis." "Well, mommy, it happened already." "What you say? Don't get rude in here. The baby not staying here. I warn you again and again not to mix up with those people. I told you their deeds. I told you how they grudge your uncle and send him to prison. I told you how they steal your great-grandfather land, but you wouldn't hear. You gonna mix up. You gonna mix up and look what them leave you holding. A baby. Well, it not staying here." His hands were getting tired. The left hand supported the baby over his shoulder, and the right hand, a bag with baby stuff, suspended from his other shoulder. He was coming to the gate of Miss Francis's house. Miss Francis had been teacher to both Dennis and Rosie at primary school. It was Miss Frances who had supported them above anybody else through the pregnancy, and it was she who had bought things for the baby. Maybe she would keep the child, Dennis thought. She was almost 40 and had no children of her own. Miss Frances was overwhelmed with joy. "For as long as you want," she said. And then she went on to say how sorry she was for the passing. "And if there's anything I can do for the—" She would have said funeral, but changed it to homegoing. So there it was, then, the baby in the care of Miss Frances. Things were looking up for now, Dennis thought. But the next day, around the same time, there was a knocking at Miss Frances's gate, and Miss Frances came out to see Miss Madge, arms akimbo, shaking from side to side like a spoiled schoolgirl. "I hear you have something down here that belonged to me." "If you're talking about Rosie's baby, Dennis said you chased him away with it." "What gave you the right to Rosie, child? I chased him away yesterday. Today I want the baby." But Dennis said, "Who care what Dennis said? I come for my grandchild, and that is that. Maybe it's you and him plan up and murder my Rosie." "Don't be ridiculous, ma'am." "Why would I do that?" "Because you are a mule. You can't have any children and you want Rosie baby. Don't let me get mad down here." Miss Madge left Miss Frances's home with Rosie's baby. Later that day, news filtered out what had happened, and everybody with the surname Donaldson or Smith, and every close relative who was available, grabbed what he or she could. Some were carrying machetes, others sticks. They marched down to Miss Madge's house. She had no right to go for the baby, they said. At their front was Dennis's mother, Miss Smith. "Madge, I don't need to tell you that is the baby we come for." "Rosie child leaving you over my dead body," Miss Madge screamed. "Well, that not hard to arrange," Miss Smith said. Miss Madge's common-law husband, D, stepped down into the front yard. "Madge, you stupid or what? You don't know a dangerous situation when you see one." He brought out the baby and his bag and handed the child to Miss Smith. "Out of order," Miss Smith said. "Who you going to take the baby when you say you didn't want him already? Out of order." They buried Rosie that Saturday under the apple tree with the swing suspended from it. All through the service, Miss Madge could be heard saying that they had murdered her 15-year-old daughter and somebody would have to pay for it. The sun was boiling hot. It was capturing moisture and making it shimmer in the air. The asphalt had softened underfoot, so that sometimes when you walked on it, it came off on your shoes as a paste. In the banana plantation next to the road was 18-year-old Dennis Donaldson. He was carrying bananas, working 7 days a week, pushing himself hard. He had to make a way, he said, for his 2-year-old son, so that he didn't end up like him, cutting and carrying bananas on a plantation. Dennis had got this job in place of Miss Madge's common-law husband, D, who had died from cancer. One evening, the manager called Dennis into the office. "I was thinking to say this to you for a long while." "Yes," Dennis said. "Yes, I have seen how hard you work. No, that is commendable. But I am a firm believer in the truth. Because you see, it is the truth that—" The manager didn't know how to say what he wanted to say. He started again, deciding to be more direct. "Let me tell you what Dee told me before he died. This, you must understand, does not reflect on you badly. But as I say, truth is truth." Yes, Dee told me some sort of confession that he had been fooling around with the girl and that there was a possibility that he could be the father of the boy. Lie! Damn lie! Dennis screamed. You out of order to come to me with this. All I suggest is that you do a paternity test. I will stand the cost. And if at the end it is yours, good. If not, and you feel you should still support the child, even better. But truth is truth. Keep your money and your job. Out of order. Dennis slammed the door on his way out. He didn't go to work for 3 days. On the 4th day, he apologized to the manager and decided to do the test. The results showed that Dennis Donaldson was not the father of the boy he had named Ronaldo Donaldson. That evening, the two men shook hands firmly in the manager's office. They had made a gentleman's agreement. They would take the knowledge that Ronaldo was not Dennis's son to their graves. And Dennis Donaldson vowed to be the best father Ronaldo could ever have. The moon shone brilliantly, dimming the stars. The people had come to the community center in their numbers. A large television set was placed on the counter. It was the finals of the Junior School Challenge quiz. After the jumping, the screaming, the laughing, the crying, it was now time for the captain of the winning team to make his speech. Firstly, I thank God for all He has given and all that He has done. I thank my teacher, Miss Francis, and my 2 grandmothers who showered me with love and affection. And to Mr. Dennis Donaldson in Lucky Hill, St. Mary, I want to say that I honor you, sir, great father that you are. And to the sponsors, I say, Dennis didn't jump when he heard that. The time for jumping was over. He sat there with tears flowing down his cheeks. Pride and joy were welling up in his heart. From the remote shelves of his memory, he was seeing the dim picture of a frightened 16-year-old schoolboy navigating through mud and muck and pools of water. Dennis Donaldson broke down and cried. Near him, 3 women were embracing, not jumping anymore, just hugging tightly and rubbing one another's back. The women were school teacher Miss Iona Francis, Miss Madge Vassell, and Miss Angela Smith. And they knew they had just witnessed the coming of age of Rosie's baby.